r/AskReddit by Redmond Dts. What's your, oh you're not joking, moment? Had an old lady ask me when her dog would grow its leg back after an amputation. I was eating ice cream and an old guy walking into the ice cream parlor said, "Oh, that looks good. I'm gonna get a spoon." I smiled and laughed awkwardly until his damn spoon was in my ice cream. Had a neighbor who was a single guy in his 40s, divorced, had a college-aged daughter that stayed with him half the time. Seemed like they were having a sort of family reunion one weekend, and I saw him talking with others out on his back deck. A little while later I went over to ask to borrow something. His daughter answered and I asked if her dad was there. She said her dad was dead, and I just chuckled and was like, haha, yeah right. She just looked at me and turned around crying and went back inside. Her mom, his ex-wife, came out right away and saw I was confused, shocked, and very apologetic. She was really nice about it, saying it had just happened and was the first time the daughter had had to answer the door. Apparently he had committed suicide. I obviously felt so terrible, apologized profusely. I thought for sure I had just seen him. And the way the daughter had announced it seemed almost light-hearted. Turns out who I saw on the back deck was his brother, who looked a lot like him, and all the family was there for the funeral. It was when I met up with an online friend for the first time. It was surprisingly more fun than I thought it would be. By the end of the night, as we were waiting to get served at a restaurant, she looked at me and asked how I thought our outing went. I told her that I had a great time. But that didn't seem to do it for her. She proceeded to tell me about how she does this thing at the end of every outing with her friends, where she rates and gives feedback on how well it went, what didn't go so well, and what could do with some improvement for next time. I laughed it off, thinking she was joking. It all felt too robotic and school-like for me to take seriously. But she definitely was serious. I told her to go first so I could get an idea of what she wanted and, I kid you not, she whipped out her phone and started drafting up multiple paragraphs for about 7 minutes or so. I felt so awkward because it was also 7 minutes of pure silence and deep concentration. Thankfully, I had to leave midway because I was needed elsewhere. I told her to just text me her thoughts when she was done, but she insisted that that wasn't the way to do it, and it had to be done in person. I still can't believe this is something her and her friends regularly do. Working in a catalog store in the United Kingdom. You pick from the catalog, we bring it out from the warehouse. Lady comes in and orders the single largest thing we keep in store. A shed. Not a particularly big shed as sheds go, but still a shed. Okay madam, if you give me your vehicle's registration number I'll tell the security guys to let you round the back of the store. Park in bay 5 and we'll load it for you. What are you talking about? You have to park around back so we can load it into your vehicle. I don't have a vehicle. Oh, well, we have the numbers for some white van men and taxi services if you'd like to. No, just bring it up. Keith can carry it. She indicates a portly man of around 50 across the room. He waves. Madam. It is a building. With all due respect to your husband, he absolutely cannot carry it by himself. She started getting angry. Demanded that we bring the shed out to her. We did so. It took 3 guys to even lift it. We got it into the lift diagonally, though it trapped a man behind it, and when it came up she said, "What on earth is that?" "That's your shed, madam. My Keith can't carry that." "Yeah, no kidding. Would you like me to call a van service for you?" She actually just got a refund and left. I work at a hotel. We have this regular who comes, but usually makes reservations ahead of time, and she has her favorite room she tries to get. Well, one day she walked in, asking for a room. I had rooms available, but not the one she wanted, and she replied, "Oh, call the guests in that room and tell them to move out so I could have it." I seriously thought that was a joke and I played along, saying I'll get right on that, as I was getting her info in the computer. All of a sudden she said, "Aren't you going to call them?" "Call who?" "Those guests in that room so I could have it." "Oh, you really weren't joking?" I told her that we don't do that. If she wanted that room she needed to call ahead. I have a room. I know it's not your preferred room, but it's all I've got, and you can take it or leave it. But I'm not moving a guest out." She seemed almost taken aback by that, but I told her that if she didn't take the room I had, she wouldn't get anything. She calls ahead now, but I was mortified and shocked she actually tried this stunt, and actually meant it. Used to work at a big bank that bought out another, somewhat smaller but still pretty big bank about 10 years ago. Some guy came in all pissed off because we didn't send him a new debit card with the new bank's logo on it. They intentionally made it so the old ones would continue working until they were originally set to expire. Said it was embarrassing. I can't be the only person who's gotten upset over this, right? Yeah homie, you were. A friend sent a photo of herself in a hideous wedding dress with guys. I found my dress and I completely thought she was joking. I would have responded with lol or a buff emoji, but got caught up and didn't respond for a few hours. When I checked my phone, the other bridesmaids had written OMG Gorg, love it etc, and I realized she wasn't joking. I was so relieved that I didn't respond first. Side note, but related, our bridesmaids' dresses were ugly AF and expensive. At least we all looked ridiculous that day. When my former best friend and I was joking around and talking about sex, she had an idea of us having sex with our boyfriends in the same room, and I was like, yeah haha. And we could hold each other's hands haha. She thought it was a good idea and played along and was like, we could bounce at the same rhythm haha. Weeks go by. She told me her boyfriend said yes to it. And I was like, what? Said yes to what? Oh, said yes to us having sex in the same room. Took a bit of convincing, but he's in. She got a little disappointed when I said no and thought we were joking around. Getting ready for a road trip. Multiple vehicles. Not everyone knows each other. Him. We should exchange phone numbers in case we get separated. Me. Oh, I have your number. Got it from Dan. I'll call you quick so you have mine. Call him and hang up as soon as it rings. Okay. Got it. Let me call you so you have mine too. What? Calls me. Confused look. Did you get it? At a co-worker's house playing poker after our NFL fantasy draft. One guy asked where the bathroom was, and off he went. Came back a few minutes later and the host asks if he seriously just took a dump in his house. We all laughed and turned our attention back to the poker game. He wasn't joking. He was genuinely upset that someone used his bathroom to take a dump. He said it was extremely rude and something you should wait until you get home to do. I had a friend with a very dry sense of humor. One morning, several years ago, he texted something to our group text like XX555TTT4X. Presumably a Badal text, right? And then a little while later texted, sorry, I had a stroke. Which is exactly the kind of joke he would have made to apologize for the ridiculous text. So I said no worries, just lay off the sauce while you're at work. Turns out he'd had a massive stroke and was in the hospital, and had been attempting to text with the right hand only, while wearing a pulse ox. He ended up with permanent left-sided hemiplegia and it's a terrifying sad story, and also I felt like a huge asshole that day. When my dad had a stroke. Dad was a jokester about all things, including faking he was having a crisis, but this time it wasn't a joke. We were in a Cracker Barrel and I had just paid while he was wandering around the store. I heard him say, I can't feel my left arm, and I said haha that's funny, stop messing with me. He said no I'm serious, and I turned around to see him and the left side of his face was drooping and his left arm and leg were limp. That was 17 years ago. He survived, but then a massive heart attack took him from my life 9 years ago. I joined a work Skype meeting a few minutes late, and when I joined I asked to be filled in on what had been discussed in the meeting so far. One of my colleagues, who is usually a bit of a joker, replied, well boss lady was just telling everyone about the new expectation that we wear our work uniforms while working from home. I busted out laughing. Big hearty guffaws. Wiping tears from my eyes. Alex, that's hilarious. Can you imagine? Nobody else laughed. We don't even have cameras in our work from home setups. Why the F would we ever wear a uniform working from home? I work at a call center. Geez, Matt, who died? My grandmother. Ha. Oh shit. A very sarcastic, hilarious guy posted about going to see God on Facebook. I replied with something snarky along the lines of the old, "Have you found Jesus?" I didn't know he was missing joke. His wife posted it to let everyone know he died of a heart attack. This guy came back professing his love for me in the most passive-aggressive way after ghosting me for 2 months. No calls answered, no texts, nothing. When he ghosted me, I was heartbroken. Took some time to myself to heal and stay single, you know the drill. He texted me out of blue asking if we could talk. We met up and he told me he did some soul searching and dated a few girls and went to therapy, and told me he realized I was the one and said how I'd regret not giving him a second chance because I had no clue how happy he'd make me. I thought this was some ploy to get me to sleep with him until he proposed immediately after. When my boyfriend, now ex, wouldn't buy me tampons in the fear of being mistaken for a gay person. Either he doesn't know how tampons work or he knows very little about gay people, or probably just both. Seriously though, the scariest part about buying tampons for a lady is that you'll get the wrong kind. If I'm being sent to the store for that sort of product, I want a picture of the box so there's no mistake. I was working for Starbucks, and a customer ordered a caramel Madagascar. So I laughed thinking it was a joke, and repeated it back correctly as a caramel macchiato. He was not joking, and called me pretentious for pronouncing it correctly and to not name drinks hard to read words. This reminds me of when I worked at Subway and a lady asked for a Macedonian cookie rather than macadamia nut. We lost our marbles as soon as she walked out. My aunt once got the police at her birthday. She thought her friends hired a stripper. So yeah. It took her 10 minutes to realize it was actually the police. I was working in retail and an older chap wanted to return his wireless mouse because the cable wasn't long enough. Same store, different day. I want to get this to charge my phone when camping. Sure, that should work. It just needs to be positioned properly to give you good charging rates. That's fine, I'll leave it on overnight. Mom, that's a solar powered charger. Yeah, I know. That's all folks. Thank you for watching. If you like videos like this one, why not like and subscribe for more? Have a nice evening. Tell your friends about